Good morning. This is Scott Jones at Linden High School. We've had a very eventful morning this morning. Just got out of summer weight session. We had a good turnout today. 45 high school kids showed, and then an hour later, we had 20 or 25 middle school kids showed up. So we started the day on a very positive note around here. A little bit about Linden. Linden is a rural community located in east central Kansas. It's the county seat of Osage County, and we're also a lake community. We're located in the center of a triangle between three federal reservoirs, the closest two being Melvern and Pomona Lake, and then we're also 15 miles away from John Redmond. Because of this, we see a lot of lakeside traffic during the summertime, people coming out to boat, ski, fish, enjoy the water, enjoy the lake. Our families also spend a lot of time on the water and at the lake as well. We also have a lifestyle of a bedroom community. Even though we have all of these different possibilities available to our families, there's not a whole lot of business and industry involved in Linden. So most of our families commute to work to either Topeka, Emporia, or we have a nuclear operating station located 30 miles south of us called Wolf Creek. We are predominantly a white Caucasian community. Less than 3% of the population identifies themselves as non-white. An interesting fun fact, the present school started in an abandoned broom factory in 1917. I didn't know that until I asked our administrators, but prior to this time, they utilized family schoolhouses. So most of this area in the early 1900s was one-room schoolhouses. We're a 2A high school, and with that comes plenty of traditions. We have Fall Fest, the week leading up to homecoming. Tiger Days in the spring is a week that we involve the students in giving back to the community. So any charitable type organizations or event occur during this time period. We have a small population, just over 1,000. But our student body population, I would say 50% of the students live in a rural America, so they live outside of city limits. One of the facts on this slide that caught me by surprise was the median age involved in Linden. The last census reported that our median age was 34.7 years old. I thought that was a touch low, but of all the residents in Linden, 45% of the households have school-aged children, so that shows that we have a very young, very active demographic. That's good to see in a small town. We have young students coming up. Our lower elementary classes keep getting larger and larger. From a sociological inventory, I believe that our salary schedule is very consistent with the surrounding area. It puts us in a very competitive system or a competitive situation when we go out and try to recruit new teachers. Beginning teachers start out at $33,800. One of the interesting facts about our salary schedule is we're one of the only districts in the state where the pay scale dips lower for a bachelor of 45 than it does for a master's. This is due to an aging staff. Back when some of our staff members could have been getting their master's degrees, they still had to go out. They had to travel to colleges and universities, take a couple courses a night and a week, and that wasn't really beneficial for some of them. Classified staff started out at $9 an hour, which still well above minimum wage in Kansas, but at $9 an hour, you really struggle to pay bills. Therefore, we struggle to find consistent help. So we always have a revolving door in our parish support staff. We always have a revolving door in our custodial staff. One of the things that our district is currently struggling with is the special ed pass-through funding that passed. Last year, I believe 38% of our budget was requested by the special ed co-op. That puts a large burden on the school as far as where are we going to come up with the other funds to fund other activities. We're very fortunate to live in a small town, small community. We have a lot of community support. They're always present at programs and games. They're always present at any activity you need them to be. It's very comforting to know that you're always one phone call or one conversation away from having all hands on deck. If you look at this slide, you can see our population characteristics. We're fairly educated. We have about 92% high school diploma to GED. Of that 91%, we have 15% with a bachelor's degree and 3.7% with a master's degree. We have a high graduation rate, high retention rate, and a low dropout rate. Communication channels. As I stated earlier, we're 35 minutes between Topeka and Emporia and 45 minutes from Kansas City. It puts us right in the hub of eastern Kansas, which is great. That's a great place to be, but it's not really suited for public networks. Okay? We have no local radio stations, no local TV stations. The little coverage we do get comes from Topeka radio or Emporia radio stations. Every once in a while, we do get WIBW 13 TV station to come down and cover some sort of event, but that's on very rare occasions. The only publication we truly have on a weekly basis is the Osage Herald Chronicle. USD 421 continually has some sort of article or publication in every weekly issue. And this is how we reach out to our constituents. This is how we reach out to them about upcoming events, successes the children are having, and basically what we're doing around the school. We do utilize websites, social media outlets, and then we did input a robocall system to communicate better with our parents. You can see on this slide that we have multiple different community groups. Our students are very active. They're very active throughout the course of the year. They're very active out throughout the course of the summer. The good students are the kids that are involved in every activity in school. They're your forensics, FFA, FBLA, your Scholars Bowl, your NHS, your athletic activities. And then in the summertime, they transfer those roles into leadership activities where they're leaders in 4-H, the Scouts, they run FCA once a week. They run recreation opportunities off for the rec board and Mr. Massey, or they're leaders in their church youth groups. We're very fortunate to have some very good kids in Linden right now. As far as a local or a federal leadership standpoint, it's fairly uncertain at this point in time. At the federal level, Kansas is in a very good place. We've been represented by Pat Roberts and Jerry Moran for a long time now. Laura Kelly was just our governor-elect this past fall. She's supposed to be pro-education, so that's a little bit better than we have been in the past. At the local level, we have a new mayor in Steve Morrison, a new superintendent in Brad Marcotte, and a new high school principal in Mr. Tanner Smith. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what roads we travel down here in the next 3 to 5 years. It's very nice to be the county seat of Osage County. This gives us access to local and county fire departments, local and county police forces, and as close as we are to Topeka, if we ever were to have some sort of tragedy, we're very close to the base of the KBI and the state troopers. From a local level, we have mayor and city council members that are widely known and readily accessible. Probably so much that sometimes they are too accessible. It's very easy to have conversations with people that you grew up with and feel very comfortable with them when you're talking and discussing different types of issues and policies, whether you agree or not on their stance on issues. And sometimes that becomes too personal. Community leaders have always played an active role in Linden. Just recently, they've worked on remodeling and revitalizing the downtown. We have new sidewalks. They put a facelift on some stores and businesses, a new children's park, and they worked on a veterans memorial, all within the last 5 years. Economic conditions, we're fairly stable. For a community that has very little industry, we're fairly stable as an economy. We're the county seat, that always helps. That gives you courthouse positions, USDA positions, ag extension service agents, and all these bring jobs to the community. Financial institutions, we have 2 banks, we have Linden Building Materials, and we have different types of contractors to fit any of your needs. We also have some dining and retail opportunities available in Linden. One part of this slide that really kind of concerned me is we just passed the 40% threshold for low SES. That's much higher than it was in the last census, and kind of concerning. That means the gap is spreading between low and high class in Linden. There's not a whole lot of middle class families moving into the Linden area right now. We're a large school district. We cover approximately 80 square miles of country, and with that comes its own set of challenges. Our taxpayers will avoid higher taxes almost at all costs. All right, the city undertook a massive water and wastewater plant project a couple years ago. The next year, a bond issue failed. If you look, you can see our federal and state aid. Federal aid was just at 162,000. State aid was at 4.5 million, which brings up to our total revenue of $5.4 million. Social tensions. There's very little diversity in Linden, Kansas. We have church-affiliated groups. Methodist, Baptist churches are in town. Catholic churches are in the surrounding communities. We also have a Mennonite and Amish subculture. Very good people, very easy to get along with. The 2 cultures do not conflict at all, but there is a lack of understanding between the 2, and everybody just kind of keeps to themselves a little bit at times. The USD 421 also lacks diversity. Whenever we get a foreign exchange student or somebody of different nationality moving in, we try to weave them into the culture of the school. The lunch menu offers different options for them. We mostly observe Christian holidays, and our school dress code is probably a little bit more strict than yours is. Public opinions. We recently completed a survey of the community through our KISA certification. Over an overall score of 168, ranged from 1 to 5, we scored fairly well. If you look at the results, you can see that we did well in a welcoming environment. Thank you for watching my slideshow. Here are your additional sources.